Good morning. It's Reverend Mike Capron from the First Presbyterian Church of Elmwood Park for another of our sermons on the Gospel of John. Today we're looking at John chapter 9. I'll start by reading verses 1 through 16. As Jesus walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming where no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with the saliva and spread the mud on the man's eyes, saying to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam." Siloam means sent. Then he went and washed and came back able to see. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar began to ask, Is not this the man who used to sit and beg?" And some were saying, "Yeah, it is he." But others were saying, "No, it's just someone who looks like him." He kept saying, "I am the man." But they kept asking him, "How were your eyes opened?" He answered them, "A man called Jesus made mud, spread it on my eyes, and said to me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' Then I went and washed and received my sight." They said to him, "Where is he, this Jesus?" Man said, "I don't know." They brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind. Now it was a Sabbath day when Jesus had made the mud and opened his eyes, and the Pharisees also began to ask him how he had received his sight. He said to them, "I put mud on my eyes, then I washed, and now I see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man," meaning Jesus, "is not from God. He does not observe the Sabbath. How can a sinner perform such signs?" And they were divided between those groups. Now, at the end of chapter 8, Jesus ducked out of the temple as the people there were picking up stones to throw at him. He was not well liked by the temple authorities. At the beginning of chapter 9, he's talking with some disciples. We don't know if these were the faithful stalwarts who've been with him from the beginning, or if maybe these are the new sort of maybe disciples he was talking to at the end of chapter 8. But whoever they are, they ask him a question. "Rabbi, who sinned that this man over there was born blind? Did he sin or did his parents sin?" Now, it isn't hard to figure how they knew he was blind. That must have been obvious. But it's harder to understand how they knew he had been blind since birth. Must be he was a known character in the neighborhood. Now, I'm going to ask the same question several times during this sermon, and this is the first asking. What happens as a result of sin? The disciples' question about the man born blind reveals an assumption about the answer. What happens as a result of sin? Well, God punishes you in this life by inflicting a disability on you or your child. What a tragic and flawed understanding of God that is. To come across someone with a handicap and presume that God cursed them as a result of sin. Jesus, of course, will have none of it. He gives an alternate answer to the question, what happens as a result of sin? Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him." I urge you to think about that answer. Human sin meets an answer in Jesus. We do not know the name of this man born blind, but we do know his story. It has been told throughout long centuries whenever someone reads the Gospel of John. Whatever sin was present, and it probably came from the disciples' assumptions, that sin was met by the healing of Jesus. The physical disability became a source of good news as Jesus cares for him, extends his power over him, and tells him what he must do. Go to the pool and wash. The man does, and suddenly, for the first time in his life, he is able to see. We should not miss the joy of that moment. In our quest to search out the wisdom of the rest of the chapter, we must linger for a moment here at the simple good news of the one who was healed and saw the light for the first time. Now here's a crazy thing. Just take a moment, close your eyes right now, close them. Notice that you can't see anything. And slowly, just slowly open your eyes. That was only about 2 seconds for you. But imagine doing that after years. God, what a blessing. Now let me return to my question, okay? What happens as a result of sin? The answer underlying this story is, sadly, that you become identified with your perceived sin or disability. Now that this man is healed and can see, no one is sure who he is. His identity was solely grounded in the fact that he was, quote, the man born blind. And now that he can see, there's this debate about him. Is this not the man who used to sit and beg? Some were saying it's him. Others were saying, no, it's just someone who looks like him. But he kept saying, I am the man. He's brought to the Jewish elders, and they won't believe it's really him until they bring his parents in to verify his identity. That's in the middle part of the chapter. So what happens as a result of sin? You are only known as that blind person, or that addict, or that homeless person, or that unwed mother, or that person with depression, or the kid with ADHD, except by those who love you. This man's parents, they haul them in the middle of chapter 2. They still recognize him, and Jesus still recognized him. They saw him for who he was, a child of God, beloved by God. The authorities only saw him as a tool, a means to an end, a way to attack Jesus, and that is so very sad. So, what happens as a result of sin? For the man born blind, you are driven out of the holy place. You are told to leave, to get out, to scram, vamoose. That's what happens in this story. The Jewish authorities didn't like this man's answers. In verses 32 to 33, he tells them about Jesus. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but he does listen to the one who worships him and obeys his will. Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man, Jesus, were not from God, he could do nothing. And they reply to him in this way, You were born entirely in sins, and you are trying to teach us? And so they drove him out. Did you hear how they repeated the disciples' error from the very beginning of the chapter in assuming that sin was the cause of his disability? Every group, every religious institution has its gatekeepers. At their best, they protect the flock. At their worst, they drive people like this man away. They drive out the people with the best testimony of God's glory. They drive out the man Jesus healed, just as they drove Jesus himself out at the end of the previous chapter. But Jesus has a different answer to the question, what happens as a result of sin? What happens? Jesus himself seeks you out. You, yes, you, get a personal encounter with the Christ. Let me read the last few verses of chapter 9. Jesus heard that they had driven him out, and when he found him, he said, Do you believe in the Son of Man? Jesus sometimes refers to himself with that title. The man answered, Who is he, sir? Tell me, so that I may believe in him. And Jesus said to him, You have seen him, and the one speaking to you is he. He said, Lord, I believe, and he worshipped him. Jesus said, I came into this world for judgment, so that those who do not see may see, and those who do see may become blind. Some of the Pharisees near him heard this and said to him, Surely we're not blind, are we? Jesus said to them, If you were blind, you would not have sinned. But now that you say, we see, your sin remains. When Jesus finds you, he has an important question to ask you, a vital question. Do you believe in the Son of Man? Maybe you stammer a bit. You aren't quite sure what it means. You were previously blind, after all. You do know that somebody put something in your eyes and told you to go wash, and then you did, and then everything happened all at once, and it's been a heck of a day, and you're a little confused. What is he asking? You thought maybe he was a prophet, but the holy people told you he was a sinner, and you don't believe it. But wait, who is he again? It's me, says Jesus. I'm the one who put the mud in your eye. I'm the one who sought you out. And suddenly it becomes clear. Okay, you weren't blind because of sin, but you know that you have sinned and you are a sinner. But Jesus is right there, and oh wait, he isn't just a prophet, there's something more. Suddenly you know that you're in the presence of God, that God, the real God, and you not only stammer that, yes, Lord, I believe, but you fall on your face in utter astonishment, worship, and awe. It's the only possible reaction to what you have just experienced. And you understand that believing in Jesus is no casual matter. It isn't an item you can check off on a list. It is a lived experience where you recognize that Jesus is not merely some wise religious or ethical teacher. He is truly the Son of God, truly God incarnate, truly the Word made flesh, Son of God and Son of Man all in one package. Let me quote from John 12:44-46. Whoever believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And whoever sees me sees him who sent me. I have come as light into the world so that everyone who believes in me should not remain in darkness. And then verses 49 and 50. I have not spoken on my own, continues Jesus, but the Father who sent me has himself given me a commandment about what to say and what to speak. And I know that his commandment is eternal life. What I speak, therefore, I speak just as the Father told me. That's it. That's the good news. The Father and Jesus are one. If you've seen Jesus, you've seen the Father. Jesus is not a prophet or a teacher or a guru representing God. Jesus is God. Let me close with a further reflection on blindness. A great deal of the gospel relates to what is sometimes called the great reversal. The poor are really rich and the rich are really poor. Proud leaders are least in the kingdom. Humble servants are great in the kingdom. Those who die to this life truly live, and drum roll please, the man born blind sees, while those people born with sight are truly blind. And the joy of this passage is that the man born blind regains his sight and recognizes Jesus for who Jesus is, God incarnate. Does he believe in the Son of Man? Yes, he does. The tragedy of the passage is that so many people born with sight, and even those trained to interpret the scriptures, were completely blind to the miraculous presence of God. They did not believe in the very light of the world standing in front of them. They were truly blind. So don't be blind. Look for Jesus and believe. He's looking for you. Amen.